Hello, you multi-magisterial mainland mammals. I'm Ralphie in the Bothy, bringing you a whisky review extras. 1009 extras. And a big malt mention, thank you, because I've got to do this, it's important, goes to Nublinth Monkey. Right, initially I thought it was donkey, but it's monkey. Nublinth Monkey. Thank you, Nublinth Monkey. That's my malt mention done. Then I have to score it out so as I don't accidentally reuse it in my next review. Got a system here, you know. It doesn't look like it, looks all a bit chaotic, but I really do have a system, honest. Anyway, I've just reviewed this whisky. It's my whisky for the year 2024. It's called Maclean's Nose, and it's a blended Scotch whisky from Ardnamurchan Distillery, bottled by Adelphi Distillers. And I gave it 85 out of 100 as a blended Scotch mark. And the reason I did that is because it's not a brilliant whisky. It doesn't have the advantage of many years of maturation in casks, but the actual quality of the young whiskies in the blend, all of them, are very good, and they have been matured in effective working casks. Now, one thing that you will not know from marketing departments is that in many traditional Scotch blended whiskies, they know that people aren't going to sip them. They know that people want them a little bit rough because they're going to have them with soda or ice or Coca-Cola, and therefore there is no need to overspend in the quality of production. And that particularly comes into play with the grain whisky, which is a mixed mash bill whisky, barley, maybe some wheat, but primarily corn, because corn's cheap. And it's from column still, so it's very efficient and cost effective to produce it. And the grain is supposed to provide the smooth component to the blend. You may notice, particularly with modern blends, they seem rather weak in malt influence and prominent in corn whisky influence. And that is coming from the column still mixed mash bill Scotch grain whisky, which makes up either 70, 75 or 80% of these blends. And they're just kind of rounded off with a little bit of malt whisky to give them a bit of extra kick of flavour, which they desperately need, so that they're not just grain vodka. Just telling you the way it is. Now, as you can imagine, that if cost's a big factor in the production of this grain column still whisky, they don't want to be spending much on their casks, and therefore what they do is they use tired casks, third fill casks, fourth fill casks, fifth fill casks. Therefore, they're not really looking for much cask interaction to mellow, tone up and add any sensibility or features to the grain whisky. Frankly, it doesn't really matter, unless, of course, it's one of these older high premium luxury blends that you see now and again, where again, that they tend to be predominantly single malt whiskies, not grain. Up until recently, many grain whiskies, when they started to become fashionable, were in demand because they were significantly cheaper than single malt whiskies. What people have found is that they need to go a long distance in the cask to become remotely interesting, depending on the provenance of the casks. But there you have it. I'm kind of giving you an outline as to why I've selected this as my whisky for the year 2024. And what it boils down to is that without any fanfare, marketing, over-branding, over-packaging, without any condescending content, which is what you'd sum all that up as, here's a new distillery who have done something unexpected with no major announcement. They've put out a very good quality, young blended whisky at a very good price. Now, I'm going to tell you what I paid for this, so that if you happen to be in another country outside the British Isles and you've got a local retailer trying to pump the ass out of this brand simply because there's more demand for it, you will do a quick currency translation and see that they are perhaps ripping you off. This, I have noticed, happens in the USA, in some states, with some retailers, and it seems to be normalised. And it shouldn't be. I can see the comments. I read the feedback. I hear what you're saying. I paid £30 for this. £30. I've seen it priced at £28.50 a bottle. I've also seen it priced at £34 a bottle, but not any more than that. In terms of price, this whisky, bottled at 46%, unchill filtered, is very good value for money. There are no costs in boxes, containers, flannel, fancy messages, nothing like that. You've got a QR code in the back of the label if you want to find out more about it. It's wonderfully transparent. The timing is perfect, because here in 2024, the cost of living is continuing to rise, particularly in the British Isles. People cannot afford the budgets they used to have. Even last year, even the year before, people are tightening their belts. And I am responding to that by showcasing a very good value contemporary blended Scotch, a new generation of blended Scotch. We're only just seeing blended Scotch like this, but you also get blended malts like this. Blended malts from independent bottlers, primarily, but also we're seeing some from distilleries now. Blended malts, which are offering very good value for money. Sure, they're young, but the quality of maturation compensates for the youthfulness of the spirit. Far better a non-aged statement blended Scotch that's been matured in good casks than an age-stated blended Scotch that's been matured in economy casks. We can taste the difference. We have the experience and the maturity. So I've selected this as my whisky of the year because I'm sending out a message to the Scotch whisky industry to kind of rein in the excessive, insincere marketing and price hiking of some brands, which doesn't seem to make particular sense. At the moment, we have access, certainly in the UK, to some very good value single malts. Deanston, Arran, Lechac, Glencadam, and you'd remember. You know, they are there. And people are repeat buying these brands because of their predictability and dependability, and most importantly, affordability. When we're seeing other brands for no reason double their price overnight, that is very negative, damaging, anti-marketing messages. It's anti-marketing. It's literally, in the space of a few high-level decisions, it's undoing hundreds of thousands of marketing spend. There's some seriously flawed decision making in some prominent brands at this moment in time by people who are in charge of messaging who don't actually understand Scotch whisky and the cycles of it. Really, this is also an endorsement in selecting this whisky for 2024 as my whisky of the year. It's an endorsement of small distilleries where people who actually make whisky who actually go into warehouses and can operate a still if required. These sort of people. And not only that, they actually drink whiskey and enjoy it. Big bonus. These sort of people, to produce these unglamorous, practical, jobbing, sensible value permutations on the theme of Scotch whisky and put it out there, not needing to promote it, but putting it out there knowing and having the self-confidence that it will be found by the discerning, experienced whisky drinkers like myself, who will then bring it to your attention and recommend it to you and say, by the way, I recommend you buy a bottle of this, it's not going to cost you much. Well, it shouldn't. Go find. As you can appreciate, at this moment, the making of this video is kind of sold out for the moment in many locations, particularly in the UK and across Europe, but it will be back in stock. I have every confidence that will be the case. So there we are, message delivered through my whisky for the year, which isn't a whisky of 2023. There's a difference. This is a whisky for 2024. It's the way whisky's going, because we're all on a budget. We all have to rein in our spending a little bit. And these are just the perfect times to be doing that. And for the distilleries that weather the storm of an economic global downturn and a periodic diminishment in the demand for alcohol, it's part of the feature here. I'll go into that in more detail in the future extras. Then responding to the existing enthusiastic market with bottlings like this is absolutely the way to go. It really is. And I hope that other distilleries will duly take note, because my choice of the whisky for the year is a political decision. It always has been a political decision, but this year particularly so. And there you have it. I'm Ralphie, in the bothy. And I have concluded my extras. It's been lovely to see you. Hopefully we'll see you again. Feel free to subscribe, like, comment. And don't forget, I do have an active Patreon channel as well, full of content, extras, bothy lives, and soon to be a refreshed community group